What's up, Ike?
How are you? Good. How are you?
Good to see you. We're talking about the competition at linebacker. I mean, competition at on the offensive on the inside, it always is pretty good during training camp. What's it been like, and how do you feel like you've kind of played the last couple weeks?
For me, I'm just kind of focused on myself right now. Missing that first couple weeks of training camp, just getting back in the swing of things, and I'm just trying to, put my best foot forward and whatever I can bring to the team, trying to get that best I can before the season starts.
What was the hardest part of that?
You work out all off season very hard, and then I wouldn't recommend, taking 2 weeks of doing absolutely nothing and then jumping into training camp. So that was, my symptoms weren't crazy, but I came back from them and it's taken a bit to get back in the swing of things. So just working every day and resting and, eating properly, doing all the things I can off the field to help my performance on the field.
Deon was pretty open about his experience. Would you open up a little bit on what yours was with being out?
Yeah, it's just fatigue and, sleeping. I have 2 young kids at home, so obviously taking care of them as well. There was really no rest during the day, but, getting 9-10 hours of sleep and then really eating properly, I think, helped me a lot, and taking the right supplements to get my body back to being able to be out here and perform as a professional athlete. That's a lot to ask, especially after taking that much time off of just sitting at home, because there's not a lot of physical activity that you can do to kind of battle it. I tried for a couple days and I was like, there's just not any way I'm gonna fight through this. That's what I tried to do, but just shut it down and then have slowly ramped it back up and just try to get a little bit better every day.
What about Deon says he lost 15 plus pounds. Did you lose any weight? Could you know strength? And where is your conditioning at this point?
Yeah, I felt very weak, especially that first week. And then, like I said, it just slowly has come back to me. My conditioning is not where it was, obviously before I got it, but from like my first practice back here till now, it's 100 times better. So I do see the improvement, and that's very encouraging, and I just continue to do all the right things and know that eventually it'll kind of pop through for me, but it's taken a little longer than I expected.
From a mindset standpoint, in a competition, how do you fight the knowing you have to take it at a certain pace, but knowing the calendar doesn't suggest that you necessarily have the luxury of easing back in?
Yeah, I wouldn't say easing back in is the right words for how I'm going about it, but it's just taking the appropriate action. Like I said, I tried to push it at the beginning. That didn't work, and there's times like right now where I want to go do a bunch of extra conditioning, but I know from what I've learned just over the last couple weeks is resting is really what makes me feel a lot better. I was in really good shape before I got it, so I know it's there and it's coming back, but not pushing it to the point where I'm like just drawn out, is kind of the technique I'm taking to it.
Last year you started 10 games, including 3 playoff games. Did you feel like what was your takeaway from the end of last season? Did you feel like, I've established myself as a, starting caliber NFL player?
I don't think I ever really felt that accomplishment. In my mind, I'm not the player that I need to be or want to be, especially right now. I know that I have potential to be a much better player, and I was never really like this offseason. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm a given starter. That's just not how my mind ever works. I'm taken that mindset before, and it's never turned out well for me. Whether it was getting hurt in college or I just don't work as hard. So I always try to keep that chip on my shoulder and just have that mindset.
So were you vaccinated? Were you in the middle of it? What can you say about that?
I'm going to keep that to myself.
John came back, kind of changed his body a bit, and he was talking a little bit about it, and Sean was saying before practice today that it wasn't something they told him to do, but it's funny, sometimes some things that you do work out and you can be more athletic out there. What have you noticed, especially when you guys are going back and forth, you've probably watched him a lot, about what's different about his game?
Yeah, he's just moving better. He says sometimes it feels like he has crazy feet because he's, lighter, moving better. But that's something me and him both talked about, was getting down. And I've lost, 5-6 pounds since last year. I don't know if I could go down to as low as he did, but yeah, looks great. He's playing great, and John's just a great guy.
What do you weigh?
I'm right around 315 to 320 and give it
Like
a.
5 less than last year or something.
Yeah, I played like 22, 23 last year.
Ike, you said you had that chip on your shoulder mindset. So, what are your thoughts about going into this season, and what are some of the goals that you have with that mindset that you bring to the table?
I'm just trying to get myself, in that best position and best, the best player that I can be to help the team win. I mean, you look around on the field and there's just awesome players everywhere, and it's such a fun team of great guys. And I just want to get myself and put myself in position to help in any way I can.
What do you think of Devin and Zach? Obviously Zach just the one game, but Devin's looked explosive. I mean, the run game has been really successful when you guys have gone to it these first 2 games. What you made of the way those two run the ball?
Just shows the work they put in this off season, and it's been fun just seeing them run around, especially that run Motorhead this weekend. It was an awesome run, and he's explosive and slippery and fun to watch. And Moss is a powerful guy, and they're really fun to block for.
There's a lot of talk, obviously, in the offseason from Brandon on down about making the run game better, regardless of how many attempts there are, but, being more efficient. Just from your perspective, living through it, how much of a priority do you see as that?
Yeah, I think just that cohesiveness, especially for an O-line and tight ends, just working together and know how guys fit blocks, the guys that you're next to, how they're going to fit a block. And then, it's been like that ever since I started playing O-line in college. Just when you know how a guy fits a block, whether it's outside zone, gap scheme, inside zone, then you kind of know how to fit that with them, and just works really well together. And I think, that's starting to come here in training camp, and it's been, fun being able to run the ball a little bit in the preseason.
A lot of compliments last season, down the stretch of the season, from Mitch and other guys about how quick you were to know at the line of scrimmage what was going on and helping with line calls if it needed to be. Just kind of now, after having, again, 10 starts in a season, what would you say how would you compare your knowledge recognition ability of know what's coming at you compared to a year ago?
I mean, I think it really started developing for me when I started playing some center a couple years ago, and that was in practice. And ever since then, things just on the when I'm looking at a defense and diagnosing things have gotten a lot better. So I think that was huge. And then, I mean, we just talk a lot, whether it's in the locker room or even outside the building, about, football stuff and looks, and, guys are watching film and see different things, and we all talk. So it's, we kind of are all trying to see everything through the same lens. And then when we get up there, if I see it first, I mean, Mitch, is giving me the green light, like, help me out if you see something, and then we can make the right calls and just go play.
Defensive line has been really good throughout camp and the 2 games. Has there been anything that, maybe from any of the new players, the 2 rookies or Ike Boettger, that's kind of stood out to you when you maybe had a one-on-one with them that was like, wow?
Yeah, I mean, they're just from top to bottom really good. They're deep. They got good older guys, good younger guys coming along, and you see that in the preseason. I mean, I watch the preseason games really close when I'm in or not on the sideline. I like watching those guys work, and they're giving, other teams' O-lines some problems. So it's fun to watch them, and it's been fun, competing with them as well, making us a lot better.
Just experience, obviously, in any job. There's no substitute for experience. So now, again, having all those snaps last year, is it easier for you to read just the body language of the defensive tackle? Okay, from watching film, I know this is what I'm expecting, and then kind of just the way they're leaning.
Yeah, absolutely. In preseason, it's kind of tough because they have like maybe 1 or 2 series, the starters do, so there's not like a ton of film. And you don't know how much of their defense they've put in at that point and what they're going to show. But once we get to the season, I think that's going to be huge, because I can definitely, even from when I starting last year till the end of the season, just the things that I would pick up on from those 10 games was pretty massive. And that was just, watching multiple games and talking to other linemen that I know around the league that have played those guys in recent weeks that I would see on film, just reaching out to them, being like, you got any giveaways that they had? And a lot of those guys take notes and would share it. So